Okay, there's some glue squishing out the edges here, but that's okay. I'll clean that up here in a minute before it dries all the way. This is dry enough now that I can go ahead and go out and drill the holes. I made those dots a little deeper so it was easier to see. So I'll go out and do the drilling and come back and start stitching this up. I'm not going to show you the drilling process since you've already seen that once. The holes are drilled. I don't know if you can see that. So I'll go ahead and start stitching. And you've seen the stitching process before, so I'll go ahead and finish that and come back and show you it when it's completed. Okay, I finished up the stitching on the inside of this belt buckle. Now I'll glue this down and drill the holes and stitch this portion on here. So I'm going to just mark it, trying to mark underneath here so I'll know where to put the glue. When I did this on the last, underneath this, the glue didn't stick that well, and I think it's because this leather is not that rough, so I'm going to scuff it up a little bit here to put the glue on. I've got a sharp awl here. I'll just put some lines across here to add some surface for the glue to stick to. Okay. Okay, I'll just let that dry and then go out and drill the holes and start stitching it on. I'll after I drill the holes, I'll show you before I stitch it. I've gone ahead and stitched the belt loop on now, so about the only thing left before I can glue this together are the two snaps back here for the loop that'll hold the knife on. The next thing to do here is to put these two snaps on the back here for the belt or the loop to hold the knife in place. So I've gone ahead and marked the new one. I've got two little dots there, I don't know if you can see that. And I'll punch holes there with this punching tool. Okay, once that's done, here's the back of the snap. I'll go ahead and put both of them in. And you use this little anvil with this tool. There's one. There's two. The snaps are in place. Now these two halves can be glued together. I'm ready to glue this together. So I'm just going to put this on and spread it with my finger. I'm trying to do this fast enough so it doesn't dry on me before I have a chance to stick the two halves together. I'll come back once this is dried and put together. This is dry enough to put the groove in for the stitching at the top here, and I'm also going to have to put a groove along here to stitch along this flint holder. So I've gone ahead and adjusted the width of this grooving tool so it's the same or close to what this stitching is, the width. And it's about mid distance between that tooling and the edge of the sheath. So I'm going to go ahead and start grooving here. Okay, I'll end up restaining this little groove around here so that it doesn't look white and the stitching shows up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use the freehand groover on this side. The next thing I need to do is make the little dents in here to space the stitching, and I'll go out and drill the holes. I went ahead and ran this star wheel around the edges. If you can see the little dents. Here you can see them at the top edge there. So I'll go and drill the holes and stitch it together. I've drilled the holes out in the shop, and I need to cut a groove on the back also where these holes are at. I didn't want to do it to begin with until I had the holes drilled, so I'll go ahead and cut a groove where the stitches or where the holes are at for the stitches, and I'll have to put some dye on this as well. Okay, there's the groove on that one. I'm going to have to do one on the flint rod one as well. I'm going to have to use the freehand tool for that. I'm ready to restain these. Okay, I'm ready to start stitching. So I'll go ahead and stitch that up and then come back. I just finished the stitching here for the flint rod. I'm going to go ahead and start the stitching around the edge now. I finished the stitching around the perimeter here. So the next thing is to put the spacers in here, so I'll have to make those next and glue them in place.